Hello, my fellow Trollops. I come to you with the final installment in the final book of the Palliser series, the final 20 chapters of The Duke's Children by Anthony Trollope. And yeah, as I left you last time, I was like, okay, I cheered myself up with my last talk of there is stuff in here that I want to focus on, more focusing on the female characters, and I think that was borne out by the last 20 chapters in this book of there's all these, like, marriages to get to. Major Tifto has his fate and he gets pensioned off, which is Trollope is quite humane with the quote unquote villains of this piece. I think of Burgo Fitzgerald in the very first book, who this kind of wastrel guy who was trying to kind of kidnap Glencora away, and he in the end gets kind of pensioned off. And indeed in this book, Major Tifto, who is nowhere near, anywhere near a threat. He's hardly non-existent threat to Silverbridge, swindling him out of money, which dear dad just can pay back. He in the end gets pensioned off. Trollope has definitely got, at least to his male characters, he shows a lot of charity to, or maybe it's just more of the thing of the males in this book, like the society, kind of get a pass, whereas the females when they get shafted, they get shafted good. I think of Lady Eustace, and now I think of I'll add to that list Lady Mabel Grex, who sounds like is going to continue to be Lady Mabel Grex to the day she dies, the spinster. The bitter spinster. At least that's one imagining. I've heard people say in this, say that, like, yeah, she's going to live out her days as a bitter woman. We don't see that. In the mythical 7th book of the Palliser series, maybe, Lady Mabel Grex, joins the suffragette movement, leads change, finds a guy who she can respect and who respects her, and dispenses with this whole sweet maiden virtues bullshit, and is happy. And let's imagine that, but that was never written, and that's perhaps me writing my Trollope fan fiction versus focusing on the book in hand. So yeah, I mean, I think at the end here, I would focus on those key chapters of Lady Mabel. First, I think it's chapter 73. I think it is, I've never loved you, whatever chapter that is, her talking to, Silverbridge. And, she's definitely not a happy woman. She is bitter. She's like, she's blaming Silverbridge for basically sort of what her own scruples at the time of, she's like, I don't really love this guy. And I gave him, like, I was kind of open with him and I kind of laughed at him and he went away. And I set him free, and surprise, surprise, he went and found a woman that was far more agreeable, more copacetic to him. But she's still kind of angry about that, and she wants to let him know there at the end, I never loved you. I never loved you. So she has that conversation with Silverbridge. She has, then in like chapter 77, these are the chapters that really stand out for me. She has a conversation with Frank Tregear. I almost said Gresham. With Frank Tregear, where he is indeed, of course, surprise, surprise, has, the Duke of Omnium has finally kind of realized, okay, my daughter is not going to let go of this guy. This guy has risen in the world. He's an MP now. Everyone around me says, give in. And so he does give in. And yeah, they're going to settle him with a great thing. And so Tregear and her have this conversation where she's like, we loved each other and you let me go. And he says, well, you told me to leave. You told me it was an unsuitable marriage and that it was you who said that. And, you say I was too quick in recovering from that. It's like, well, I'm masculine, the manly man kind of thing. It's like, well, I picked up my pieces and I went elsewhere. I didn't stew in it she says, like, oh, you should have nursed my love for a couple of years. And he's like, no, it wasn't going to work. So I moved on, and I moved on smartly. And I found a really good woman who, yes, she has money, but you do get the sense that Tregear actually does not, he's not in this for the money as much as I think that part of the thing with Lady Mabel is in the end, she was like, no, she was in it for the money. And there's this definite thing of the male characters really not wanting to hear from a female character that she has practical motives, which I have to say, speaking as a guy, that most of the most practical, clear-headed people that I know in my life are women who have to make practical decisions and aren't allowed to kind of waft off in romantic notions. It's like, no, I need to live in this world, and it's a tough world. It's a tough world for women now, and it's a even tougher world for women then. So they're quite horrified by this, but I have to say I kind of quite respect her for that. Even as much as her bitterness and her anger, it could be, you could see it as self-pity. You could also just sort of see it as, this is a wider anger. This isn't, she's angry at these two men. She's angry at, this world that she is in. She is a smart, intelligent woman she was definitely like, her and Tregear were like simpatico, but it couldn't be because the society was just like, neither of you have money. You'd both live in misery that way, economic misery that way. And then, I could marry Silverbridge, who, okay, I get to like him more, but he's a fucking dope. He is a dope. He is like, he's very lucky to get Miss Boncassen, who is definitely going to help him help him live his life as a much more mature, together guy. I guess they have that whole thing of it's self-improvement. I guess we get into the whole things of myths of self-improvement. Is she going to make him into a better man, or is he just going to just continue to be the same dope he is, but with a wife who's like, every once in a while is like, don't be an idiot. So there's that as well. But I do think that, this is more of a global thing, because Trollope's stocking trade is all these these marriages. At the end of the book, there's going to be a marriage. There's going to be a union, and it gets looked down upon. It's like, oh, this is just kind of romantic comedy kind of nonsense. But there's kind of a more core thing here that of how Victorians constructed their society, how we still construct our society now, that is constructed by marriage. Luckily now it's actually expanded from just man and woman to, whatever couple, male, female, whatever couples, that's actually that is expanded out, this kind of societal glue, this thing that this construct that our culture uses to bind us together, to support us. I mean, they talk about, when they talk about things that can seriously put people into tailspins, like, send you into horrible depressions and stuff like that. You're usually talking about stuff like the breakup of marriages. It's like, this is important cultural stuff that as social creatures holds us together, supports us, helps us thrive, and without it, isolated and alone, things are not good. We fall apart physically, mentally, and I think part of this is deadly serious stuff. These marriages, and we can see that because at the end of this novel, a different novelist would be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, and the evil, the shrewish, bitter woman, she just gets shuffled off the stage and we don't think about her anymore, and we have happy marriages. But in some ways, I find at the end of this book, Lady Mabel is, wow, Trollope brings her up and gives her not one but two chapters where she confronts these two guys and and vents her frustrations, her anger, her like, this is going to be my fate. I'm going to be cast aside. I don't have my father was a wastrel, and he's a wastrel. He was just a brutal, sad guy who ends up, she nurses until he dies. It's like she does not have a male protector in this super male world anymore, and she's on the out. She's the loser, and to push this loser the big loser at the end of these novels, in this novel, is like, that's a interestingly sourness that he mixes with the sweetness of marriages and the unions that happen here, the happy unions that happen here. It's like, it's like, I gotta give Trollope that, because there's a lot of this book that I found disposable, that I was not into. Oh, is this crazy couple gonna get together yet again? Maybe I'm not as much a Trollope devotee. Maybe I will need to take a break after this gulping down of 6 Trollope novels. But, it's interesting at the end of this, we have, this is really important stuff. And the people who aren't lucky, who aren't rich, who don't get the perfect love match, who get a sensible love match that's going to support them, and they're going to go through life. The people who don't get that are going to get cast aside. Even someone like Major Tifto, I don't know. Major Tifto is more of a comedic device, I suppose, or it's, I don't know, the stuff that's going on there. He is a hapless pawn in this story as well. So we have a couple of, we have like the major sadness of someone like Lady Mabel, which, so one reading of this would be like, she just got what she deserved. But another reading of this is, she's angry, but she's angry at the system. She's angry at all of this. And it's, the Trollope has that at the heart of this book is interesting. And it's funny because I finished, I think it's chapter 77, and then there's 3 more chapters. And I have to say, I had to re-listen to those 3 chapters over and over again, because it was like once we had that, it was just like, blah. It's like nothing else. It just kind of like, and we had a happy ending. And that's probably just me not being as careful a reader, but it's like Lady Mabel. So it's a mixed, the book is mixed for me, in that I don't know if there was as much of that essentialness as I wanted. And I mean, it can't always be that, just sort of that little shift, and you start thinking about how vital stuff like this is. And I do think even today, a lot of, we use marriage to control, to harness people into our society, and the people who don't get into relationships, who aren't plugged into our culture, they are a major disruptive force in our society, a major, dangerous force in our society. This is where the ultra rights and the religious fanatics, this is where they harvest people from, because they harvest that anger. And I mean, also, maybe also you get the people on the outside who can stand to the outside and shout back and say, hey, I can see this society. I can see what's wrong. And they're people those are people worth listening to, not the ones that are going to do just mindless violence and stuff like that, but the people who are going to look back and say, hey, I have this perspective. And I think Lady Mabel might be one of those people. I don't know what I'm arguing now. So that's, I see here, there's my major takeaway from this book. And I actually stuck to that and didn't get bogged down in a whole bunch of details. It only took 6 books with 4 videos in each book for me to get there. And maybe there's a part of that is just a certain amount of detachment at the end. And a part of that is I have to film a lot more videos, a lot more books that I've been majorly derailed in the last while. See, now I'm derailing myself right now. Well, I would like to end this with, because I didn't start it this way, this is a part of Steve Donoghue's read-along of the Palliser novels. I will put all the links down below to his readings of these. I'm going to be interested to hear what he has to say at the end of this novel, The Duke's Children. I have a feeling that Lady Mabel is going to come up in his talks too. It'll be interesting to see how he does. He's much more into the Trollopenalia than I am. I'll be really interested to hear what he has to say. I would say, thank you, Steve. Thank you so much for doing this read along. It's been a little bit frustrating for me in this final book, but I've really enjoyed it. the Duke did give the ring. He gave the ring to Miss Boncassen, so I had a little verklempt there, and I do think the Duke remained the Duke, but he did manage to adapt and actually do right by his children, which I don't know. That's one of those things of I thought he was such a mensch right from the beginning. It's like one of those. It was that was another thing of like, if he'd been slightly dodgier of a fellow, I'd be like, there'd be more drama. Like, oh my God, is he going to screw up his children? Is he going to force Lady Mary to never ever marry ever again and just die in sadness? It's like, no, it's Plantagenet. Spoilers. He's a good guy. So. Yes. Thank you, Steve. That was my main point there. Thank you, Steve. And hey, I'll probably put a message in his video if he doesn't kind of do this already. It's like it would be really worth going back, Steve, and to just look at the novels, look at these novels as a group, as a whole, because I really feel like each book is talking to the other book from Glencora and Burgo Fitzgerald to Lady Mary and Frank Tregear. It's like this seems to be really a series that is in some ways it's talking to each other. It's worth saying, like, what does it say overall about this mix of the political and the personal? There's always that question of, like, being having a political view this way, but also having a personal view that way. Most amply illustrated, perhaps, by Plantagenet himself. So I'll be interested to hear what you have to say, Steve. But if all we do is just this straight read along, I've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much. And if you've actually watched this, wow. Thank you for watching the video. I enjoy nattering to myself, and if somebody out there enjoys my nattering, that'll be a surprise to me. More videos later. I'll probably take a break on Trollope, even if Steve won't. But yes, more videos later.